Good afternoon. I'm George Tigg with Nelson Mullins, a proud sponsor of this event, and am happy to serve on the board of North Carolina Free Enterprise. And I am honored today to introduce our next speaker, Representative Ken Goodman, who was first elected in 2010 to represent the House District 66, which includes Hope, Montgomery, Richmond, Robson, and Scotland counties, some of those rural counties that we're talking about today. Representative Goodman serves as Vice Chairman of Commerce and Job Development in the House and several other important committees: Finance, Health, Rules, Transportation. And more importantly, he is co-chair of the Main Street Democrats Caucus. Ken is a small business owner of R.W. Goodman Company and was previously Chief Financial Officer of Richmond Yarns Incorporated from 1990 to 2009. He is actively involved in the community. He serves on the Board of Trustees for the Foundation to First Health. He's a director of the Richmond Community College Foundation, Richmond County Chamber of Commerce, and formerly served on the board of First Southern Savings Bank and Richmond Memorial Hospital. He also served in the North Carolina Army National Guard previously. And as just as a teaser, Joe, I will say when the business ratings are released later this week that Representative Goodman will be the highest ranked Democrat in the rankings. Please join me in welcoming Representative Ken Goodman.
Thank you, George. I appreciate that introduction. One correction, I won't be the highest ranked Democrat in the House. I will be the highest ranked House member on Republican or Democrat in the House. So, I'm very proud of that. Thank you. I'd like to first thank the Free Enterprise Foundation for having this dinner and also for promoting free enterprise in this country, which I think is the only real anti-poverty program that we have. So I'm very proud of what you do, and Joe, thank you so much for that. I'm also pleased to be here with so many notable speakers today, and I'm especially glad to be here with my Main Street Democrat Senate co-chair, Joel Ford. And I need to tell you something about Joel before we get started. You wouldn't know it to look at him, but he is a very sensitive and caring person who a while back was really worried that his wife, Deborah, might be losing her hearing. And he didn't know what to do about it. He didn't want to nag her, but he wanted to help her, so he went to see their family doctor, who was also a personal friend, and asked him what to do. Well, the doctor said, Joel, we got to determine the level of her hearing loss before we know what to do about it. He said, so what I want you to do, I want you to go home tonight. I want you to get about 25 feet away from her and say something to her in a normal tone of voice. And if she hears you, we know there's no problem. But if that doesn't work, move in about 10 feet, say something again. That if she doesn't hear you, then move in 10 more feet and so on until she hears you. And then we can develop a strategy on how to deal with this hearing problem. So that night, Joel's at home. He's sitting in his recliner in the den, and his wife, Deborah's in the kitchen standing at the sink. And Joel says, honey, what's for dinner? No response. So Joel gets up. He moves in about 10 feet. He said, honey, what's for dinner? Still no response. Joel walks on into the kitchen. He's about 5 feet behind Deborah, and he says, honey, what's for dinner? She never turns around. So again, Joel, being the sensitive guy that he is, he walks up behind her, puts his hands gently on her shoulders, leans around next to her ear and says, honey, what's for dinner? She wheels around and she said, Joel, for the 4th time, chicken. So, the reason I'm telling that story is I think it illustrates the approach that the Democratic leadership took in the General Assembly after we lost 25 seats in the 2010 election. They felt like that the voters just weren't hearing them, when in fact the opposite was true. We just weren't hearing the voters. And you would think that losing 10 more seats in the 2012 election cycle would have brought the point home that people were fed up with the status quo. They wanted government to work and make a difference in their everyday lives. As a Democrat, I knew something had to be done, so just before the past session, I, along with a few concerned Democrats like Joel Ford and Michael Ray, Ed Haynes, Ken Waddell, Gail Adcock, organized a new caucus to promote an agenda that centered around 3 specific issues, and they are job growth and economic development, support for public education, and investing in our communities. And by that, I mean through infrastructure, technology, and healthcare services. We also decided that we would totally avoid divisive social issues, and we would work with the majority to advance good public policy. We also agreed that we would not participate in any political posturing or obstructive tactics. Well, we went out and we recruited 14 like-minded Democrats in the House and Senate, and we went to work. And I'm here to tell you that what we accomplished exceeded anything that I had hoped for. The first bill in session that we dealt with was Senate Bill 20, which put a floor under the gas tax and raised revenue to support road construction. It was opposed by the far right and the far left, but the bill passed with the support of Main Street Democrats. Secretary Scrivala talked to you about the incentives, and House Bill 17 was the bill, 117, excuse me, was the bill that dealt with that. And we went to see the Secretary early in the session and pledged our support. And that bill would not have passed without the support of Main Street Democrats. Even the proposed House budget would not have gotten out of committee had not the Main Street Democrats voted to move it to the floor. And after it was there, we lobbied our side of the aisle really hard to support what we considered a fair and balanced document. 31 of 45 Democrats actually voted for a Republican budget, thanks to our leadership. It was becoming clear that Main Street Democrats were the big story coming out of the 2015 session of the General Assembly. Newspapers all over the state were writing about the emergence of a moderate voice within the Democratic caucus. The very fact that Senator Ford and I are here to speak to you today is proof that there is a recognition of new leadership within our party. Just before the end of session, a senior Republican House member stopped me outside of the legislative building, and he said, "Ken, I really like what you and your group are doing." He said, "Democrats were in power for so long that they lost touch with the people, and they got voted out. And I can see that beginning to happen on our side of the aisle." He went on and said, "Keep up the good work, and maybe someday you can start calling it the Main Street Caucus, and a good number of us will join you." I think that would be a great idea. But we got to be realistic. The two parties do have serious differences about policy and the role of government, and that is a healthy thing. But when I talk to voters, they have no interest in hyper-partisanship and the ranting of the extreme right and the extreme left. They just want government to work. Well, Main Street Democrats have heard the voters, and we will continue to work to open the ears of all those who serve. And if we succeed in that, Democrats win, Republicans win, and most important of all the people of North Carolina will win. Thank you very much. I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas.